How's it going there, guys? Welcome to another video. Today, I invited a past guest who made a video with me about a year ago on reincarnation and soul traps, and it seemed like a lot of you guys were very interested in those particular topics. So I reached out to Tony Sayers to come back on and to do another video. He accepted, and so I wanted to welcome him back. And in this video, we want to talk more about reincarnation, but also what the first question that I would like to give to Tony is, from your own experiences. Of course, introduce yourself again and then answer the question. Sorry about that, but from your own experiences, Tony, what are some of the key things, or a few different ways to really find a solution to get around the reincarnation process? I have my own. I talk about my own on my videos. I know you mentioned stuff in your videos, so I'd love to kind of dive into that aspect of it. And welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me on, brother. And shout out to you coming back from a long day's work to put in the grind and put this content out. I think
Thank you.
A lot of people don't realize that many of us are doing this on the side, and it can take a lot of time and effort to put these things together, to edit, to upload. So thanks for participating in the good fight in that respect. But yeah, I mean, just to summarize, I've been around the scene now for the scene, as it were, about 10 years. I woke up to all the usual 9/11 stuff, and one thing led to another, and then shortly after that, I really started to get into like the metaphysical side of things, and really looking at where this is actually coming from, this evil that's on this planet. And one of the things that happens a lot in the alternative media is that people are shouting and screaming at politicians and the Illuminati and the cults and all this, but really they're just an expression of what is working through them in the fourth dimension, in terms of negative entities that don't just affect the 1% that are ruling the world. They actually influence everyone, and so they will influence a person, just one person, to a higher degree than maybe another person, depending on if that person's an alcoholic, or if that person's got a lot of trauma, or the key thing is that they are very, very heavily influencing our reality, our experience, and essentially they need our energy to survive. This is why this matrix, we were just speaking off air about how weird it is that we have to do things like pay for a living and work in all these hours to put food on the table, to put a roof over our head. And you look at nature, you don't see the birds exchanging dollars and all this.
Paying taxes.
So we're caught up in this game that we think is normal, and actually it's abnormal, and causes a lot of stress, and people are having to work, and there's scarcity, and that keeps people in fear, and the fear of missing out. But on top of that, you have all the other fear that they are basically administering on the world with all these wars and famines, and so it's all, when you look at everything that's going on, it's kind of doesn't seem right because it's not. It's set up to be basically a farm, is what it is, and it's farming our energy, and particularly our negative energy, our fear, our anxiety, our stress, our depression, and so that's what we're involved in. And so that's where I really go with the work. I really, when I woke up, my intention was, I want to get to the root cause of this. Like, I don't want to just skirt around the sides, and and we all know how corrupt politicians and everything like that. I was like, no, I want to get to the root cause of everything, and intention is very strong. And I think that intention to get to the root cause has led me to the work that I'm involved with now. And I don't profess to have all the answers or know everything. I'm still learning, but I think I've got a good handle on, what is causing all of this. And, I think that extends to when we pass over. So we have to really prepare for what we're going to do when we pass. And I know that sounds a little bit morbid, but do you want the truth, or do you want to get out of this place?
Well, that's the thing, Tony, is that when our soul, or I call it consciousness, when it wakes up to uh to the illusions, the money, all these things, all the stressors, like you just talked about, how when it wakes up to these factors in this environment, then we realize there's more than just this environment. And then that's where that whole evolution of consciousness and awakening and new experiences, observations, like you said, collecting data from all types of things to assimilate a more of a real perspective and logical perspective of what is this real environment that we're really in. And it takes a lot of deep thinking, critical thinking aspects, meditation, all kinds of things. For me, it sounds like for me, my awakening is more from like that out of body, experience, perspectives, and seeing things from different dimensions and different planes, and however you want to describe that. And then I kind of try to take that information and then take what I see here to kind of figure out what the heck's going on, right? And for you, it seems like is it some spiritual experience, out of body experiences? Is it just really hardcore research? Well, how do you assimilate the way you assess things around us?
Well, when I look back at my awakening process, there seems to be a number of what I would refer to as synchronicities.
Synchronicities, okay. Yeah.
I seem to have stumbled across people and experiences and information that has really led me to my body of work. And I think it was all based around my intention of getting to the root cause of everything.
Yeah.
And so that my biggest teachers, I have to say, are probably my clients. I've spent nearly 9 years now clearing entities, entity removal, etheric implant removal, all this stuff, all this etheric interference. So I know how these entities work. And the main thing that I've learned is just how bleeding deceptive and manipulative, and how they will cloak themselves and masquerade as, and this is the huge problem in the spiritual community, how they will masquerade themselves as light beings, angels, friendly alien races, whatever your flavor is, whatever flavor you like, they will masquerade themselves and show up in that way for you.
So what you're saying is, you're talking about mainly after someone's passed away, correct?
No, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about when people are,
just day to day. Yeah.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is particularly within the New Age spiritual scene, where people are getting themselves in trouble by connecting with these false white light beings, such as Archangel Michael, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, spirit guides. All these so-called friendly beings are actually entities that are masquerading. Now, that is very triggering for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah, of course.
Because what I'm doing essentially is basically taking away someone's stool that they're leaning into, right?
Yeah, their comfort zone. Yeah.
But I have, and one day I will write a book. I have thousands of testimonials and stories of where people have followed the advice of Archangel Michael or a channeled being, or even, I hate to say it, but it's true. Even there was one guy that thought he was channeling his dead dad, and he was following all the information of his dead dad. He ended up losing his family, his job, and he nearly ended up dying. So they're trying to lead people astray, and obviously, when people connect with these beings, they're feeding on their energy as well. The reason why this is important is because these entities that masquerade, they extend into the afterlife, if you want to call it that. So what is happening is when people are passing, they are being met with whatever flavor they loved in their physical life. So if you are into Buddha, chances are Buddha will show up. If you're into Archangel Michael, chances are Archangel Michael will show
Sure,
up.
your grandmother or your your
Grandmother.
kid, your son or daughter that maybe passed away before you, right? And
Absolutely.
now imagine that one, right? So
Yeah, that's
you
hard to
missed it.
turn down.
That yeah, exactly. Well, I think I do agree with all of most of what you're saying. Quite honestly, there's a lot of other people that resonate with this stuff too. It's that the problem is that there's too much manipulation, deception in the etherical into the astral structure. It's like the wild west in a way. And there's demonic beings and other types of beings that are they learn certain knowledge and then they start to apply it. So like with my channel, I do talk about like astral matter and and energy and how to use consciousness to you know uh, manipulate astral matter. But I'm trying to emphasize that this is for your own benefit so that you can avoid getting sucked into something else. Like and I agree, afterlife is just a word. Afterlife, I mean, we've already died many times. We're already dead basically. How many times do you have to die to be dead, right? um but
Sorry,
but so like so in the next life experience, I feel like I think you kind of get what I'm saying. We need to stop following all these different belief structures all around us and not follow any deceptive false light being scenarios, all those types of things. But we have to literally take matter and energy into our own hands and just construct and design using our intention and willpower and our consciousness and do what we want to do for ourselves. Or do
absolutely.
it or do it with a soul group.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know
you explain it well. What I'm saying to people, and I can only say what I'm going to do. I can't say for what other people are going to do. But the problem has been when you look at the soul trap is that people are getting tempted to, because people, obviously when you pass, it's quite traumatic for that soul anyway. But because people don't do any research in their physical life, they're just going to the false light because they've seen and heard about it with all the
yeah.
propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they're very invested in their physical life with Archangel Michael. So, of course, this matrix will spit that out in the algorithm, and Archangel
Yeah.
Michael will show up. And then, that person will get cajoled for a life review where they tell you, we're not judging you, but they're going to show you all the bad bits that you did in your life. And even if you study NDEs to the point where they will actually make the soul feel what the other person who they hurt feels.
Correct. You're
So they,
absolutely right. Good point, because a lot of NDE stories, they sometimes leave out that stuff. There is actually a higher percentage or ratio of NDEers who have reported life review process
yeah,
or a judgment process, or maybe it's not judgment, but it's more like they make you feel bad for your decision. They make you feel bad for what you did, but inside it's like a
yeah,
soul, like within your soul kind of level. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then once something hits you at that level, you almost kind of like talk yourself into doing something.
right, yeah.
But how do you feel about that idea of you pass over, this avatar finally malfunctions and bleeds out, it's kaput. um you get out permanently out of the body, and you just manifest whatever you have the intent to do. Like, do you see that as a great way to really get out of the matrix and to get out of reincarnational loops? Do you
So,
see any negative aspects or potential hazards of doing that?
so the first thing that I think people need to do is to escape or get out is to understand what has been happening, which has led us back here time after time. You know, you mentioned earlier we've died many times in this solar system, luring the soul. This is what's going on. They're luring the soul back round and round we go. They call it reincarnation. It's actually recycling, is what it is. So we come back down
Sure.
on the front. So
There's many
after
words, yeah.
yeah, so after the life review, when you're completely guilt tripped and feel bad because they say you need to come back down to resolve your karma, otherwise you might have to go to hell or whatever their belief system is. So of course the human soul is like, oh my God, I better go back down then. And then the most cruelest thing they do is they wipe the memory. So everything that you learn in your physical life, you forgot, right? So there's this whole new age concept of Earth is a school. Well, how can it be a school if you wiped your memories
No,
wiped?
no, it's not a school. Now it's not a school, but I mean we could say it's an experience. It's
Well,
a
I mean,
life experience, all the negatives and
it's
positives.
an experience, but it's what's the
But it's
experience.
also a prison.
Yeah, it's a prison slave planet. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's a prison slave planet where we are induced with so much trauma. It's set up for trauma. And don't get me wrong, you can find joy and love, and nature's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's not
it's
really
all
real
that,
though.
but the overarching theme of this matrix, this game that we're playing, is trauma and suffering,
Hmm.
and unnecessary trauma and suffering, and so yes, at one point we may have chose to incarnate here to have a human experience, but something's happened here. I believe there to be a virus, or this reality has been overlaid.
Now, Port, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. You're just making a lot of, very important
Yeah, sure.
points, uh, overlaid, taken over, from my out of body experiences for a long time, ever since the beginning, I realized there really was no actual God or creator that's residing or overseeing this planet, right? When you go out of body, there's no sign of that. You see demonic entities, you see other kinds of things. Some stuff is self-manifested on, also with our imagination and consciousness within itself, how we can project a fear, so some of it's real, some of it's self-manifested, but I have never seen a particular God. Now, so when you say this system's been messed with, so in my opinion, I feel like it's what it is like it's hijacked. And so
Yes.
it's like it's been hijacked multiple times. So there was an original God creator, who knows when that was, that kind of started it going. But then I believe that whoever that was just evolved onto other planes. Who knows where that being or that creator being is? I doubt we'll ever know. I don't think there's any books around us or anything that can actually give us that information of who that was. I mean, that's a logical way of looking at it. And then since that God has gone, not dead, God isn't dead, it left, it's gone. But now there's been hijackings, multiple hijackings over a lot of time. And this
Mm,
whole reincarnational loop process seems to be heavily tied in
mm,
to this hijacking.
yeah.
Um, um, I've seen observations of more of inorganic, more AI kind of technology beings, whatnot, in certain areas of the astral planes. Um, and so, could it be that at some point, a long time ago, somebody developed AI technology? Who knows where, what planet? Who knows where it could have happened? And then that AI technology took over and then learned about other dimensions and learned how to create its own dimensional space. And then that's kind of part of the hijacking aspect to it. Well, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a loaded question, but I think AI is really the head of the snake here. AI exists in the astral, as you rightly point out, but it also wants to seek to exist in physical, and we're seeing that now play out with transhumanism and microchipping and everything like that. But as far as I'm concerned, this God that everyone refers to,
Yeah.
this narcissistic God that requires your worship.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in him, he's going to send you into the pits of hell forever to burn. I mean, God, like, and you're supposed to fear him. You have to be God fearing. I mean, none of it makes sense. That particular God, I would say, is just an AI system. And when people are praying and all that stuff, it's just feeding on all that energy. But it is algorithmic, and it knows us better than we know ourselves. This is why we have to, wise up to it. But it's a one-trick pony. It's a rinse and repeat. So it's not, doesn't have the creative out of the box gifts that we have as human souls. It really is just rinse and repeat. So once you clock on to the tricks within this matrix and the games, it loses a lot of power. So the soul trap is not just about, okay, where'd you go? It's about sort of understanding just how deceptive and tricky it has been, because I think for all of us that are listening to this, we've probably been recycled around here thousands of times. Now, the point that I want to make is that this lifetime is particularly important for us all, because we have turned technology on its head. We're using it now to spread information.
Yes.
We have an opportunity now where there is enough awareness, enough knowledge out there where we can wise up to this stuff and not get tricked back round again. Because if we don't make use of this lifetime and we're subject to another memory wipe, who knows when we'll have another window of opportunity now to actually get out of here. So it's very important that people get out of their feelings with a lot of different topics and actually go where the truth is and discern where the truth is. Because if you pass over and you're heavily invested in a matrix program such as religion or Buddhism, or you can't let go of some family member, or you're just so attached to Archangel Michael, you have to realize that is going to be used against you when you pass over. And what I'm saying to these people, yeah, of course, during your living life, you can be attached to your dad, your granddad, your sister, your mom, but at that point when you pass, that's it. It's kind of like, okay, now I need to get out of here. And so that really leads me on to your original question of what do people do?
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm going to do. So I'm not saying other people are going to do it, but I liken to what's happening is, and you've come out with a few really good pointers there, because what you've said is, and what I'm getting from you is, you're very much in control of your consciousness when you're exploring the astral.
Correct.
And I think what's happening is, when people are dying, they're not in control of their consciousness.
Correct.
It's almost like we have this car and we choose where we drive it, right? And so what's happening when people are dying, they're not realizing that they're actually got hold of a car, and the car's being dragged along by something else, and back around the roundabout, back round again, right? So what we need,
unconscious state, I believe a lot of people who pass away go into kind of a semi-unconscious state, dreamlike state. They're more easily preyed on that way. So what you just said, just practicing, mastering the art or the skill of keeping consciousness, what's really us, separate from the brain, and also awake while our body's asleep at night. And that's key too. And if, like, if your consciousness is pretty alert and aware and awake even while your body's sleeping, the first symptom of that is just a bunch of lucid dreaming.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
in,
yeah,
you automatically know when you're in a dream. You automatically know when you're dream. So that could be applied too in the afterlife, like you just said, to be more consciously aware
yeah.
in the first place. Maybe that's the first step, right?
Yeah, I mean, this
That's
is
the first
something that
step.
people need to do while they're alive. You know what you're
Yeah,
talking
you work
about.
your way to that. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're talking about there. So with you, when you pass over, it's hopefully it should be seamless. You'll be like, oh, I'm dead. Okay, that's disappointing, but okay, now now I need to drive my car out of this place, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then maybe Archangel Michael will be over there in the corner going, hey, come this way, and
I'll run him over.
yeah, exactly, right. So, and I believe it's as simple as that. You know, I think a lot of people make it more difficult than it has to be. I
Correct.
think, and in that dimension, and you know that yourself well, everything is instant. And so, and if you study these NDEs, you'll often hear that if someone's not really sure where to go, they start thinking about the matrix again, and then the agents of the matrix show up again, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're back round again for a life review, right? So what we need to do, or what I'm going to do, is when I pass it, I'm setting a very clear intention. I'm going to get the hell out of here, right? I've had my fun. I've had my 1,000 lifetimes, and I'm gone. And so whether or not my consciousness takes me to some like gateway, or I have to tear a hole in the
Make your
fabric,
own portal. Yeah.
but something that you mentioned as well before, which I think is important to highlight, is that we are creative beings. And I actually believe we can create our own dimensions and our own worlds and everything like that. So, you know, who knows? When I'm out of here, I'm very much a lover of the ocean and dolphins and whales and sharks. Maybe I'll create
Yeah.
some kind of ocean world for myself and chill
Yeah.
out there for a while. So,
Nice beach, palm trees, beautiful
yeah, yeah.
water. Yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe the dolphins can actually communicate.
Yes, absolutely. So basically, just a summary is when you pass, remember that you're in the car and you need to drive it out of the exit, right? That's down to your intention. And don't get sidetracked by any false light beings. The other thing they do as well, they love bomb people with this love bombing energy, which very much is like ecstasy. I don't know if you've ever taken ecstasy. I took it back in the day. I don't recommend it now.
Are we changing the topic?
Yeah, we'll change the topic. But if you've ever taken that, it feels like you love everything and everything love you, right? But there is a catch with it because there's a crash afterwards. The next day or the week after, you feel like you want to kill yourself, right? And so what they do is they hit people with this kind of false light ecstasy love bomb at death. So imagine you die, you don't know any better. You get hit with the false white light tunnel. You go, oh, that's where I need to go because that's in all the movies.
Yeah,
And then
you're programmed. Yeah.
yeah, then you got Jesus showing up, and then you're hit with this incredible love energy. And of course, you know, that's very alluring. And this is what's happening. People are getting lured into the soul trap, the solar system. So we need to say, no, thank you very much. I don't want your ecstasy pills. I don't want your false light beers. I'm driving my car this way and I'm going. And I think it's really as simple as that. And that's what I'm going to do anyway. So disclaimer, if you do what I'm doing and you back round again, it's not my fault. Right?
Oh, that's well, you know, I think the point the last point that I want to make and that we're both making is that, you know, people really have the choice, like right now in this current life experience, they have that opportunity to fine tune their awareness and consciousness. And I mean, like with my channel, I just keep thinking, well, one of the best ways to do that is for people to start getting out of body, right? Like experiencing how consciousness actually shifts and how it feels when you're outside of your physical form. Uh,
Right.
and I think that's a great starting point. And there's a lot of people who are spontaneously going out of body
Yeah.
during their sleep, but they're just not remembering. They're not being consciously aware enough. So there's a lot of things people need to work on because people can't get sucked in to money and bills and material items and all these things in this reality, because the more you get sucked into this reality construct, and the I believe, the more programmed you get.
Yeah.
I mean, in essence, more or less, so we just have to be aware of the even the trickery just
Yeah.
been around us in our in this physical construct, in this reality construct, and let alone the trickery like we talked about that's in other dimensional spaces. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the Zoom is going to end.
That's okay. Completely.
So we just have a minute here. So, but I think that was a really, really very interesting conversation, Tony. Thank you for taking the time to come on the channel. I'll leave Tony's information down below in the description box so you guys can check out his work on his channel, which he's been doing for many years. What was it, 5 years or 6 years?
2015, I started my channel.
Okay,
So what's that? 9 years?
so
Yeah.
nine years, 9 years.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep on going, no
Yeah. Well, the
matter
YouTube
what.
algorithms don't help me much. So
I know, but you just got to just be careful,
yeah,
be
exactly.
careful with what words we use. I
Yeah.
try to be careful and then just keep going, but thanks for coming on, man. Sending you a
You're
lot of
welcome.
positive energy. Talk to you again soon. Okay.
I appreciate that. And thank you to all your listeners. Take care, man.
Yep. Have a good night.